Capricorn Metals, we're an ASX-listed company with a market cap of about $50 million. We have a very strong management team made up of a really good balance of geologists, engineers, banking and finance executives, with a really good mix of exploration through to operational experience. Our project's located in low-risk jurisdiction of Western Australia. We have a project which has proven geological endowment. We have a resource base currently of 1.3 million ounces, and a subset of that, 713,000 ounces in reserves. That reserves all sits in one large open pit, and we're about to release a reserve upgrade in the next few weeks. The existing reserve formed the basis of a feasibility study completed late last year. The feasibility study delivered the project with 100,000 ounces per annum production from a single low strip ratio open pit and a 3 million tonne CIL processing plant at an all-in sustaining cost of about $1,000 Australian per ounce. Spot gold's at $1,720 an ounce at the moment. Whilst we're permitting that project, we're working through a series of optimisation studies and also tender process on a number of the key contracts, and all that's been yielding positive results which will improve the cash flow and the value of the project. So we're located 60 kilometres southeast of Newman. Newman is the town that is the hub for BHP Billiton's iron ore business in Western Australia, so we enjoy all the benefits of being within half an hour drive of a mining-focused town. We have the main highway between Perth and Newman just to the west of our project, and the main gas pipeline, which is important for our power supply, which runs from the Northwest Shelf gas fields down to Kalgoorlie, just running west of our project as well. It's a geologically interesting project. It's a bit left field. It's a gold project. It's not in the eastern goldfields, it's up in the iron ore country. It sits in a small dome of Archean rocks surrounded by younger Proterozoic sediments. Because of that, it's a new discovery. The belt was only found 10 years ago. It's had one previous owner, and it really has very little modern exploration outside of the resource area. The resource is focused on the Bibra deposit. It's a very large system. There's also evidence of a similar scale system just about 5 kilometres to the east at Frankopan and K3. There's about a dozen holes there, all mineralised, over about 2 kilometres by 2 kilometres. So I've got two large mineralising systems, robust feasibility based on Bibra, plenty of exploration upside. So Bibra, large continuous ore zones, that's the feasibility study pit outline. A bit hard to see, but the dashed line is the current resource envelope. We've been infilling down here at Southern Corridor to lift the reserve base. The zones are thick, up to 50 metres wide in the main footwall zone, and they're flat dipping, and that geometry gives us a very low strip ratio. So there it is, low strip ratio in the large final stage pit. This is a new discovery, so we're still blessed with the oxide material in the top 60 metres, and importantly flatline laterite material, which is also the highest grade ore. We're very active in terms of reserve expansion work, drilling a lot of targets inside our optimised shells to lift the reserve. Also have a number of targets which just sit outside the resource shells where we're drilling along strike and continue to add ounces to the project. Sorry. Recently we completed a deep hole with the assistance of the West Australian State Government. They funded half that drilling cost. It's a bit of an exploration initiative to stimulate exploration in Western Australia. We stepped out 1 kilometre below our open pit and basically 1 kilometre from the nearest drill hole and hit the same zone. This is a very big Archean system. We'll be mining the top of it as an open pit and thinking about conceptually how we might mine the remainder underground when we finish the open pit in about 10 years' time. Large tenement area, new belt, regional exploration programs just starting to fire up now that we're sort of winding up our development studies and looking towards our construction phase. So in terms of the feasibility study, based on the 700,000 ounces, which is growing, basically an NPV of 144. We've pulled about $27 million of capex out of the original capex estimates. So with the reserve additions, our NPV of the project was sort of growing towards $200 million. Initial capital costs about 130 million Australian. Single pit, 3 stages. First stage is an oxide stage, life of mine strip ratio 4.7 to 1. With this reserve increase that we're working on, It buys us an extra couple of years, potentially allows us to put a fourth stage in that pit, which will help us defer a lot of our waste movements and improve the cash flow dynamics of the project. It's very standard WA gold mining and gold milling, standard CIL flow sheet, a little bit bigger just to give us economies of scale at 3 million tonnes per annum, single stage crushing, SAG and ball milling from the start, and a very large gravity circuit, 92.5% life of mine recoveries, coarse grind size, so lower power consumptions, and low reagent consumptions because we're in the Pilbara, we're blessed with fresh groundwater, not saline groundwater, so very low reagent consumptions compared to other gold mines in Western Australia. In terms of infrastructure, as I said, we are not far from the main gas pipeline, so we've been working very hard on an optimised power solution. Diesel power with an on-site plant costs you about 23 cents a kilowatt hour. If we get a third party to tap us into the pipeline under some sort of BOO type structure, we can get our power costs down to around 16 cents a kilowatt hour. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Fly in, fly out of Newman, camp on site. So there's the capital costs. We recently signed a letter of intent with GR Engineering. They're sort of the main engineering group in Western Australia that build these kinds of projects. They're just wrapping up 2 builds at the moment. If we can get this project funded in the coming quarters, they'll roll their construction team straight onto our project. Importantly, not only did we reduce the capital, but we also fixed the bulk of it with GR under a fixed price turnkey contract. There's this quick breakdown of the operating costs. I won't go into too much on that. There's a graph of all-in sustaining costs over the life of the feasibility study. We will add some life onto this with reserve upgrade. If we can shift some of those waste movements back, we prefer to see our all-in sustaining cost curve look like that, which we suspect it will once we've run the rescheduling of the pits. In terms of financing, we're speaking to about 7 banks at the moment. They're in a data room doing their due diligence on the project. Once we've got the updated reserve out and the new mine schedule, then we'll move to credit-approved terms, hopefully around August, September. And then once the project's completely de-risked in terms of financing from the banks, we'll raise the equity component that we require to start construction. 3/5 of the way through permitting, mining leases granted, native title agreements in place with the traditional owners. We've got our main environmental permit, which is a native vegetation clearing permit. We're just working now on our water extraction licence for our process water. Just finished our last round of pump testing of that aquifer. And the last thing is the final works approval to build, operate and close the mine. In terms of timeline, have our optimisation studies wrapped up by the middle of the year, all our permitting in place. Then it's that financing in Q3 this year, a 12-month build, 56 weeks. Generally GR finish these projects a little bit earlier, so perhaps 52 weeks, and then first gold production in September quarter 2019. So in summary, the Karlawinda Gold Project is an economically robust West Australian gold development opportunity. It's a straightforward development pathway. It's based on a single large open pit, standard CIL processing, high recoveries, and ongoing optimisation work will continue to add significant value to the project. We've got high impact extensional exploration opportunities adjacent to existing ore reserves, and we believe this project is represents a camp scale multi-million ounce opportunity for multiple potential mineralised systems. Thank you.